Shaun Alexander, The Vanishing Act. Shaun Alexander broke football history. In 2005, he didn't just have a good season, he rewrote the record books with 1,880 rushing yards, 27 rushing touchdowns, and 28 total scores that shattered Priest Holmes' record and put the entire league on notice. He won MVP. He graced the Madden cover. The Seattle Seahawks finally had their king. Then, the throne collapsed beneath him. 1 year later, Alexander's numbers were sliced in half. 896 yards, 7 touchdowns. The Great Wall of Seattle had crumbled when Steve Hutchinson, his all-pro guard, fled to Minnesota, and suddenly the holes vanished, the system broke, and Alexander stood exposed like a mortal among gods. Critics sharpened their knives. He was just a product of Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson, they whispered. Any back could have done it behind that line. But here's the part that haunts the record books. Alexander finished with 100 career rushing touchdowns. Only 9 players in history have reached that summit, yet he's not in the Hall of Fame. Not nominated. Not even a whisper. The only eligible MVP with those numbers completely erased. Rich Gannon and Ken Anderson. 2 MVPs nobody remembers. Rich Gannon was impossibly old. At 37 in 2002, he won MVP with 4,689 yards, defying every aging curve. Then Jon Gruden, his mastermind coach, betrayed him by leaving for Tampa Bay. Super Bowl 37 became a public execution. Gruden destroyed Gannon using his own playbook. 5 interceptions, 48-21 massacre. 1 year later, Gannon's shoulder exploded and he vanished into retirement. But at least Gannon had a Super Bowl appearance. Ken Anderson never got that closure. Anderson threw for over 32,000 yards, won the 1981 NFL MVP, and led Cincinnati to the Super Bowl. His completion percentage was elite for his era. He should be mentioned alongside Terry Bradshaw and Roger Staubach. Instead, he's invisible. The problem? Cincinnati. Small market. Minimal national exposure. When the Bengals played, America watched other games. His Super Bowl loss to Joe Montana became Montana's coronation, not Anderson's excellence. 2 MVP quarterbacks, both forgotten. Gannon got erased by injury and betrayal. Anderson got erased by geography. And the next player proves that even dominating for a decade can't save you from obscurity. Terrell Davis and Gale Sayers, greatness stolen by injury. Terrell Davis was unstoppable for 4 years. Between 1996 and 1998, no running back came close. He rushed for over 2,000 yards in 1998, won Super Bowl MVP in 1997, and carried Denver to back-to-back championships. Then his knee exploded. Torn ACL in 1999, another devastating injury in 2000, retirement at 29, just 78 career games. The Hall of Fame debated for years whether 4 elite seasons qualified for enshrinement. But if Davis's story hurts, Gale Sayers' story is pure tragedy. Sayers played only 68 games in his entire career. 68. Yet he might be the greatest runner who ever lived. As a rookie, he scored 22 touchdowns and once put up 6 scores against San Francisco in a single game. They called him the Kansas Comet, a streak of brilliance that defied physics. Then knee surgeries destroyed him. Retired at 28. But the real tragedy? His teammate and best friend Brian Piccolo died of cancer in 1970. Sayers' acceptance speech about Piccolo made grown men weep and became the movie Brian's Song. 2 legends, 146 combined games. Greatness stolen by bodies that couldn't hold together. But at least they eventually got Hall of Fame recognition. Our next MVP never will. Kurt Warner, the grocery bagger. They kept benching. Kurt Warner shouldn't have existed. His rise sounds like fiction. Bagging groceries, throwing passes in arena football. Then suddenly, 1999, he's the St. Louis Rams starting quarterback, slinging 4,353 yards and 41 touchdowns en route to MVP and a Super Bowl ring. The greatest underdog story sports had ever seen. 2 years later, he won MVP again. Back-to-back. Untouchable. Then the league discarded him like expired milk. 2002, benched for Mark Bulger. 2003, benched again. The Rams gave up on their 2-time MVP. The Giants signed him, then benched him too. He became a punchline, a system quarterback who got lucky in Mike Martz's Greatest Show on Turf with Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, and Torrey Holt doing the heavy lifting. Arizona eventually rescued him, and boom, another Super Bowl appearance. Warner made the Hall of Fame, proving the doubters wrong, but the damage was done. The narrative had poisoned his legacy. The system made Warner. And if a two-time MVP couldn't escape that label, what chance did anyone else have? Like the co-MVP who shared a trophy with a god, but got treated like a footnote. Steve McNair, the co-MVP who didn't count. Steve McNair tied with a god. In 2003, he won co-MVP with Peyton Manning, a future first-ballot Hall of Famer, a quarterback many consider the greatest of all time. McNair threw for 3,215 yards and 24 touchdowns while running like a battering ram, absorbing punishment that would have hospitalized lesser players. The Tennessee Titans worshipped him as their warrior king. But by 2005, McNair's body was a wreckage of broken ribs, back injuries, and accumulated trauma. In 2007, Tennessee discarded him. Baltimore gave him one decent season, then he retired. And here's the tragedy that should infuriate every football fan. When people discuss the 2003 MVP race, they only remember Peyton Manning. McNair? He's invisible. A ghost in the record books. It's like sharing a trophy with a god and being told your half doesn't count. Was it the small market Tennessee curse? Was it because his body surrendered too soon? Or did the NFL simply decide one co-MVP mattered and the other didn't? The answer died with McNair in 2009. But the disrespect lives on. And speaking of disrespect, the next two running backs were destroyed by the same offensive line that made them stars. Priest Holmes and Larry Johnson, the Kansas City conveyor belt. Priest Holmes was a touchdown machine. From 2002 to 2004, he was an assembly line. 21 touchdowns in 2002, then 27 in 2003, a single-season record that made defenses look helpless. Then 2004 happened. Holmes's head slammed into the turf wrong. Severe neck injury. He vanished for nearly 2 seasons. When he tried a 2006 comeback, the magic was gone. Retired in 2007. Critics immediately declared him a product of Kansas City's Hall of Fame offensive line, Willie Roaf and Will Shields. Those holes were massive, they said. Anyone could have thrived. Then the Chiefs proved them right by plugging in Larry Johnson, who immediately exploded. 1,750 yards in 2005, 1,789 in 2006. Back-to-back dominance. He looked destined for Canton. Then Johnson's attitude became poison. Public disputes, off-field controversies, production collapse. By 2009, he was cut. Bounced from team to team. Out of football by 2011 at age 31. 2 backs, same line, same dominance, same erasure. The pattern was undeniable. The system created stars, then discarded them when the magic faded. And Kansas City wasn't the only team running a running back factory. Clinton Portis and the Denver system players. Clinton Portis was Mike Shanahan's masterpiece. In 2002 and 2003, Portis posted back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons in Denver's zone-blocking scheme that turned ordinary backs into Pro Bowlers. He was electric, explosive, seemingly unstoppable. Then Denver traded him to Washington for Champ Bailey, and the illusion shattered. Portis was still productive, solid even, but never that same dominant force. Injuries piled up. Retired at 29. Forgotten. Why? The narrative convicted him. Just another Denver system back. And the evidence was damning. Mike Shanahan's conveyor belt had produced Alandis Gary, Mike Anderson, Reuben Drowns, and Portis, all 1,000-yard rushers in the same scheme. But here's the deeper cut. While these system backs were being erased from memory, other players were being erased for reasons even more tragic. Some were forgotten because they played in the wrong era. Some were forgotten because they broke barriers America didn't want to acknowledge. And some, like our next player, were forgotten despite changing professional football forever while enduring abuse that would destroy most men. Jim Plunkett and the ultimate comeback nobody remembers. Jim Plunkett has 2 Super Bowl rings. He won the Heisman Trophy. He was the #1 overall pick in 1971. He was Super Bowl 15 MVP. And Jim Plunkett is not in the Hall of Fame. His story is the greatest resurrection in sports history. New England drafted him and destroyed him. Terrible offensive line, Mounting injuries shattered confidence. San Francisco signed him and benched him for 2 seasons before releasing him. Plunkett was finished. A cautionary tale about first-round busts. Then Oakland signed him as a backup in 1978. Nobody expected anything. When starter Dan Pastorini broke his leg in 1980, Plunkett took over a struggling team and led an impossible wild-card to championship run. The man nobody wanted had won it all. 3 years later, he did it again. Super Bowl 18, Raiders demolished Washington 38-9. 2 championships, 2 rings, the ultimate redemption arc. And the Hall of Fame pretends he doesn't exist. Every year, voters ignore him. 2 Super Bowl victories apparently aren't enough. 1 MVP performance apparently isn't enough. Overcoming complete career destruction apparently isn't enough. Jim Plunkett is the greatest champion not in Canton. His Hollywood-worthy comeback erased because the NFL decided his story didn't matter. Harold Carmichael and L.C. Greenwood. Greatness made invisible. Harold Carmichael stood 6 foot 8 inches tall. In 1971, that height was considered a liability. Scouts said tall receivers couldn't run routes or create separation. Carmichael proved everyone wrong. For 13 seasons with Philadelphia, he destroyed record books. 79 career touchdowns, over 8,000 receiving yards, jump balls that were completely unfair. He was Calvin Johnson before Calvin Johnson existed, the blueprint for every tall receiver who came after. But Carmichael played for terrible Eagles teams with no national spotlight. The Hall of Fame ignored him for 47 years. He was 71 when they finally inducted him in 2020. Meanwhile, L.C. Greenwood wore gold cleats for the 1970s Steelers dynasty and recorded an unofficial 73 career sacks. In Super Bowl 10, Greenwood delivered the defining play, a devastating hit on Roger Staubach that forced a fumble and sealed Pittsburgh's victory. 4 Super Bowl rings, 0 Hall of Fame recognition. He died in 2013 without a gold jacket. Greenwood was surrounded by so many Hall of Famers, Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Mel Blount, that his individual brilliance became invisible. Both men were elite. Both were forgotten. And if they were erased despite dominance, imagine what happened to pioneers who broke barriers. The verdict: greatness erased by time and narrative. The NFL has no memory. Shaun Alexander scored 100 touchdowns but can't get a Hall of Fame nomination. Rich Gannon and Ken Anderson won MVP and vanished. Terrell Davis and Gale Sayers had their primes stolen by injury after a combined 146 games. Kurt Warner survived multiple benchings to reach Canton, while Steve McNair's co-MVP is treated like it never happened. Priest Holmes and Larry Johnson were products of an elite line. Clinton Portis was another Denver mirage. Jim Plunkett won 2 Super Bowls and got erased. Harold Carmichael waited 47 years for recognition. L.C. Greenwood died without a gold jacket despite 4 rings. These aren't frauds or system players who got lucky. These are legends whose greatness was stolen by injury, geography, timing, and narratives they couldn't control. Some were too tall. Some played in the wrong city. Some had peaks too brief. Some broke barriers America didn't want to acknowledge. But they all executed when it mattered. The real question isn't whether they were great. It's whether we judge greatness by peak performance or longevity, by championships or market size. Because the NFL has already decided they've been erased, forgotten. Do they deserve better?